Imagine this. A secret government program, completely hidden from the public eye, protected by a really unusual legal order, a program that affects thousands of people, involves hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of pounds, all kept under wraps.
Sounds like fiction, but it's not. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that these huge decisions can happen behind closed doors.
Absolutely. And that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
The UK government's efforts to relocate Afghans, but specifically a massive data breach, the secret schemes that led to, and the enormous fallout.
Yeah, the human and financial costs are pretty staggering when you look into it.
So for this deep dive, what are we looking at source-wise?
We've got quite a mix. Official government statements, parliamentary reports, quite detailed ones, plus news articles from places like Al Jazeera, ITV News, and even some of the actual legal documents and internal papers.
Okay, comprehensive. And our mission here today?
It's really to unpack this whole thing for you, step by step. From how the breach happened in the first place, to the long shadow it cast over thousands of people, the surprising costs, and how the official view of the risks involved actually changed quite dramatically over time.
So by the end, you should have a really solid grasp of an issue that was somehow kept hidden for nearly 2 whole years.
Yeah, 2 years is a long time for something this significant.
Okay, let's set the scene first. We need to go back to Afghanistan, post-August 2021.
Exactly. The Taliban takeover was incredibly rapid after the U.S. withdrawal, and almost immediately you saw human rights, especially for women and girls, just rolled back.
And the Taliban were actively hunting down people they called collaborators.
Precisely. That context is crucial because it highlights why the UK's promises to Afghans who'd worked with British forces were so vital.
These are the relocation schemes, right? ARAP and EGS.
That's them. The Afghan Relocations and Assistance Policy, ARAP, started April 2021, and before that, the Ex Gratia Scheme, EGS, which closed down in late 2022.
And their purpose was basically to honor that service, offer a safe way out to the UK for eligible people and their families.
Yes, a pathway to safety. Though it's worth noting, ARAP itself just closed to new main applicants this month, July 1st, 2025.
Right, okay, so that's the backdrop. Now, the breach itself, the government called it a serious departmental error. What actually happened?
Well, in February 2022, an official at the Ministry of Defense, the MOD, mistakenly emailed a file, an ARAP caseworking file.
Emailed it where?
Outside of the secure government systems. That was the critical error.
And this file wasn't small, was it?
No, not at all. It contained personal details, names, contact info for 18,714 Afghan applicants.
18,000.
18,714. Applicants to either ARAP or EGS. And often their family members, too.
That's just huge. What kind of details are we talking?
Names, contact information mainly, but crucially, in some cases, it even included the names of, say, UK MPs or senior military figures who had supported their applications.
Which makes it even more sensitive.
Absolutely. But what's perhaps most shocking is when it was discovered.
When was that?
Not for 18 months. It only came to the attention of the previous government ministers in mid-August 2023.
18 months later. How did they find out then?
Because details of 9 individuals from that leaked file actually surfaced online, on Facebook, of all places.
Wow. And that obviously set off alarm bells.
Immediately. The assessment was stark. This put lives in grave danger. The Taliban could potentially use this data to find and harm people.
And the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, they got involved.
They did. They'd already fined the Mahdi £350,000 for a different data leak back in September 2021 involving Afghan interpreters.
Right, I remember that.
So regarding this massive breach from Feb 2022, the ICO warned it posed a potential threat to life.
And you mentioned this wasn't isolated.
No. Sources we looked at described it as one of many data losses relating to the ARAP scheme during that period. It suggests more of a systemic problem, perhaps.
A pattern of issues with data handling. Not just one bad mistake.
That seems to be the implication, yes.
Okay, so the breach is discovered in August 2023. What happens next? Secrecy seems to be the key word.
Very much so. The government moved incredibly fast to contain this, using quite extraordinary measures, the main one being a superinjunction.
Can you just quickly explain what that is? It's pretty unusual.
It really is. A superinjunction doesn't just stop the media reporting on specific details of something.
It stops them reporting that the injunction even exists.
Exactly. Total blackout. The High Court granted this on September 1st, 2023. And it stayed in place for almost 2 years, gagging 8 media organizations.
Why such extreme secrecy? What was the justification?
The stated reason was purely security to stop the news coverage itself, increasing the risk that the Taliban might get hold of the full data set.
Okay, understandable perhaps, but still.
Drastic.
Extremely. So while this wall of silence is up, what's happening behind the scenes? You mentioned secret schemes.
Right. In parallel with the injunction, in autumn 2023, the previous government set up a brand new, completely secret settlement scheme. They called it the Afghan Response Route, or ARR.
And who was this ARR for?
It was specifically designed for people on that leaked list, people who weren't already eligible for ARB, but who were judged to be at the highest risk of reprisals because their data was compromised.
It's a sort of emergency safety net, but kept totally secret.
Precisely, which leads to the concerns raised by the current government.
Yeah, they expressed deep concern about this lack of transparency, didn't they? Saying many current ministers only found out when they took office.
That's right. It raises serious questions about accountability. When decisions involving thousands of people and huge sums of money are made entirely off the books, hidden from Parliament and the public.
Definitely. Let's talk about the scale and the cost of this secret ARR scheme then. How many people are we talking about?
It grew quite rapidly. Initially, the target was maybe 200 principal applicants.
Okay.
But by early 2024, that had ballooned to nearly 3,000 principals. As of this month, July 2025, the figures are around 900 ARR principals, plus 3,600 family members. So 4,500 people in total, either here in the UK or on their way.
Though I've seen other figures mentioned too.
Yes, there are some variations. Some reports mention about 6,900 brought via ARR. And looking more broadly at everyone affected by the breach, not just ARR, over 16,000 had been relocated by May 2025. It's a significant number of people, all of whom went through security checks, of course.
And the cost. This must have been expensive.
Immensely. The estimate for those 4,500 ARR people is $400 million.
400 million.
But, and this is striking some internal government papers from earlier this year, February 2025, where apparently forecasting costs could soar as high as £7 billion.
Just 7 billion. That's a huge jump.
It is, though a later statement in Parliament brought that figure down to 850 million.
That's still a massive range. 400 million, 850 million, potentially 7 billion pounds. It makes you wonder about the financial oversight, doesn't it?
It certainly raises questions about the planning and the true financial scope of operating a scheme like this in secret.
Okay, so people are being relocated, costs are mounting, but then the official assessment of the risk seems to shift. Tell us about the Rimmer Review.
Right. The current defense minister brought in Paul Rimmer, a former senior civil servant, to do an independent review. It finished in June, published just this month.
And what did it find? This seems pivotal.
It made some key points that really changed the government's direction. Rimmer found little evidence that the Taliban intended a widespread campaign of revenge against former officials just for being former officials.
Okay.
The review suggested those who actively challenge the Taliban now are at greater risk. And crucially, it noted the Taliban already has loads of data from the old regime anyway.
So the argument was, being on this leaked spreadsheet probably wouldn't be the only thing that puts someone at risk.
Essentially, yes. It was deemed highly unlikely to be the sole piece of information that would trigger the Taliban to act against someone.
But they didn't dismiss the risk entirely. Some people must still feel very vulnerable.
No, absolutely not dismissed. And this is the crucial nuance. The review explicitly stressed the uncertainty and did not rule out any risk.
So maybe not a widespread campaign, but individuals could still be in grave danger.
Exactly. Which is why you still hear from representatives of some affected Afghans, particularly maybe senior figures, or those linked to special forces who firmly believe they and their families remain at very high risk. There's a definite gap between the overall assessment and individual perceived threats.
I see. So based on this Rimmer review and maybe concerns about the cost and secrecy, what happened to the ARR?
The government decided to close it, citing the review, but also concerns over, and I quote, proportionality, public accountability, cost, and fairness. So as of July 15th, 2025, no new offers of relocation under ARR are being made.
But what about people who are already offered a place?
They're honoring those. Around 600 invitations already sent to people still in Afghanistan, plus the immediate families, will stand.
And the superinjunction, that secrecy order.
Also lifted on July 15th, the High Court ruled there was no tenable basis for it to continue, which is why we can talk about all this now.
Finally bringing it into the light after nearly 2 years. What about accountability for the original breach? Has there been an apology? Compensation?
Yes, the government has formally apologized, said it should never have happened.
It's not compensation.
They've announced $1.6 million for 265 of the affected Afghans. That works out up to about £4,000 per person.
£4,000? How has that been received?
Legal firms representing some victims welcomed it as a step. But understandably, there's criticism that it doesn't really match the trauma and the risk people faced.
Right. I saw one report mentioning someone who spent months hiding in Kabul, terrified because of this. £4,000 doesn't seem like much in that context.
It's hard to put a price on that kind of fear and disruption, isn't it? It really underlines that these aren't just administrative errors. They have deep, lasting human impacts.
Has the Moldy said it will change things? Prevent this happening again?
They've promised reforms, yes. Better data handling, more staff training. But as we noted, sources also point to that pattern of government failures in data protection.
Suggesting it might be a deeper issue than just needing a few new rules.
Potentially. Fixing ingrained practices in large organizations is always a challenge. It needs constant vigilance, real investment in systems, and genuine accountability, not just promises after the fact.
So, looking at the bigger picture, around 36,000 Afghans in total have been brought to the UK through various schemes. A huge commitment. But this whole episode, what are the main takeaways?
Well, firstly, it's a stark lesson in data security failures within government, especially when the stakes are literally life and death.
And the secrecy aspect is huge, too.
Absolutely. The length of that superinjunction really shows the power the state has to control information, raising, I think, quite chilling questions about transparency and the public's right to know what's being done in their name.
Especially when so much public money is involved, with such varying estimates swirling around.
Right. It calls into question the efficiency and financial scrutiny applied during these kinds of sensitive secret operations.
So we've traced this story from a single mistake in email sent in error, through secret schemes, massive costs, shifting risks, all playing out against the tragic backdrop of Afghanistan. It shows how one error can spiral into years of incredibly complex and costly consequences.
It really does. Broken trust, secret operations, huge sums spent, thousands of lives affected.
It leaves us with a pretty challenging question, doesn't it? In today's world, with so much data and so much instability, how do governments balance keeping their promises to allies with the absolute need for tight data security and, crucially, for transparent, accountable governance? And what's the real price, human and financial, when that balance is lost and power operates in the shadows?